these are my 12 lessons from 2025. I've been putting out this video for way too long. I do this every year as a reflection on the past year, showing some of my, not only my personal growth, but also something for my younger self, whether that's you or someone you know, to learn from. So if you got any value out of this video, feel free to like, subscribe, send this to a friend who you think could use a lesson or two from this. Yeah, a little sip of coffee to start it off. Now, just to break this down, every 30 days teaches a new lesson, 30 days builds a habit. And, you know, habits are just lessons ingrained in your body. So I usually look at things month by month and look at my schedule, look at my journal entries. So this is my journal from the year, going through all these to see what was I reflecting on, what mistakes did I make, what successes did I have, and the lessons from those. So if you were wondering, hey, how did he pull all these? It's because I'm pulling them from January, February, March, April, May, in that order, to be like, all right, what did I learn every 30 days? So I might not even edit this video. We'll see. I might just post it raw just because I'm meaning to put this out there. I put it out every year. And the least amount of resistance I can to putting this out for anyone who might have value, the better it is. But who knows? You might have little title cards. I might be cutting out all the ums, ahs, pahs. So that way you have an engaging, concise as can be video. Now, the first thing I learned this year was the worth of myself and the services that my business provides, specifically in the market. And just not seeing things the way I always have. I've been someone who always was taught humility is the best way to be. Don't be overly egotistical. And I believe a lot of the world teaches us this, and I'm not the only one here. A lot of my friends, they've unlearned this earlier than I have and have seen, hey, it's actually more beneficial to be egotistical in this world. And were telling me that for years and years. But it didn't really occur to me until I bought a course from someone who seemed like they knew things way more than I did. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn so much from this guy. And I got in the course. He did have some very useful business knowledge in there. But I was like, I am producing a better product than he is. Hands down. I make websites for a living. The websites his agency were making looked way worse than mine. Probably were more SEO optimized, maybe converted slightly better. But those were the things I learned. And I'm like, my main service is design and making things look premium. And he said that they did it. It probably was a level up for a lot of his clients. But I was like, wow, I'm charging sometimes a tenth of the price that he's charging and making something better. I should be charging way more. And that just led me throughout this whole year, like the main lesson, if you were to take anything, is be egotistical. One thing that just was hammered in time and time again for me. And even when I was sitting out with my roommates one night, just in the backyard talking about life, we were talking about this principle of how a lot of people find people with big egos annoying and they don't want to be around them. And that's kind of why we're taught to be humble. But the thing that brought this all in was I was like, yeah, but as I've learned over the last year, you want to have an ego. So if you do have trouble accepting this principle, think about it like this. Humility externally, confidence and ego internally. So like think the highest of yourself in your mind, but don't tell others that. Say compliment others because people enjoy being around others that compliment them and tell them how great they are. Compliment them, but that doesn't bring you down. All right, internally. And one book I also read over this year was Love Yourself. Like your life depends on it. Say I love myself. Say, oh my gosh, what I created was absolutely amazing. This video, now I'm going to be egotistical in this video. It's going to be one of the best videos someone's probably watched in the last week. But I'm keeping that within this tiny realm because you and me, I'm getting vulnerable here, so like you can hear this. But I'm not going to go tell that to my friend who I was just talking to outside of the studio space. Now, the next thing I learned this year, which again, like this year was a lot of things that was, I've been carrying it throughout my life that brought me success up to this point that I've had to release and learn the opposite of. This next lesson is you can't be everywhere at once, so prioritize yourself always. Now, during the earlier part of this year, was traveling back and forth between New York and Austin. I was staying here for a month, but I had obligations in New York that I had to be back there for. And basically every 2 weeks, every week actually for a little bit, I was on a flight and it really wore down on me. A lot of my results and my work was being compromised because of it. And I should have said no to a lot of things, which if you look back at me last year's video, probably was a lesson there. And when thinking about part of the reason I've had trouble saying no in the past, is because I didn't know which things to say no to. So I'd be like, all right, let me just take it all on. But think about which things are actually going to benefit me, myself, or you, yourself in your case, and just go from there. If it's not benefiting you, probably ignore it. And it's just as simple as that. From that book I mentioned earlier, phenomenal book by Kamal Ravikant. Again, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. He asks a question that kind of changed my life, where he's like, whenever you're trying to make a decision, think about this. If I love myself truly and deeply, what would I do? And it's a big if, because even if you don't love yourself, think, all right, this other version of me, or even a second person, if I love them, what would I tell them to do? Simple as that. Now, the third lesson, which piggybacks off this, is intention. I talk a lot about it, and to me, the through point in everything I do is life with intention. Intention is truly about saying no. Hormozy has a great saying about decision. If you break down the word, it means to cut off. So say no is like the true thing of intention. It's not to say yes to something and be like, I'm explicitly saying yes to that, but the power of a yes only comes from the power of the no. If someone says yes to absolutely everything, and I actually have friends who are like this, where it's very hard for them to say no to something, their yes doesn't mean as much. Simple as that. When you are saying no just as much, or if you're saying no more than you're saying yes, then yes means way more. So whenever you're trying to use power in your words, think about the opposite, and think about whenever you use the opposite, which one you're using more, and that brings power to the opposite. Your no means so much less if the yes is very spare. People like scarcity. People like things that are hard to come by. And, if the word yes is hard to come by when someone's asking you a question, it means a ton. Now, another lesson I learned this year was do what makes you happy, even if everyone else says you're wrong. I learned this basically through a period of this year where I was shut up in an office most of the time. And I actually even had a client and friend visit me and stay with me, where I was introducing him to my friends, and he was hanging out with them more. He was hanging out with my friends more than I was. And basically to me, he's like, oh, like, why aren't you hanging out with your own friends? If I'm your busy client and I'm finding time, why don't you? It's because I was like, you know what? Like, as much as I like my friends and enjoy being with them, I enjoyed working at the time. And at this particular time, I was waking up, going for a light, mile run, washing up, going into the office, staying at the office from 9 to around 11 p.m. midnight a lot of the time. And it just felt right. And it was like what I enjoyed doing. I was in a big room with a ton of desks, this big co-working space. And a lot of people who I know from that, they're like, I don't like it. There's not really a lot of windows. I was like, I kind of enjoy just being here at a wooden desk, typing away, working, and doing my own thing, because that's what I truly enjoyed. Everyone else is like, oh, you're going to let your life pass you by, which is true. And you have to come up every once in a while for those types of things. But people thought I was crazy, and I really enjoyed it. And it's, I think, why I've experienced a lot of growth this year is because I truly did what was making me happy, and my work makes me happy. Even today, it's a Sunday. A lot of people are like, oh, it's the Lord's Day. You shouldn't be working. And again, one of my roommates is like, dude, you put in a lot of time at your office because I enjoy it. And if I'm not outside being active or being social, I'm most likely here because I enjoy it. And me creating this video is actually genuinely fun. I don't do this enough. And I am very much looking forward to next month when I am doing this every single day. So stay on the lookout for that on Instagram. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about, I learned from taking the most wild adventure I have in the last 1.5, 2 years. Earlier this year, it was a client was flying me out to EDC to work a booth with them. Get in-person sales at EDC, shout out World of Mushy. And the lesson I learned was just do it for the plot. It was one of the most wild rides, and I actually lost money going there. I was in the negotiations with a client, and I just wasn't responding to emails fast enough, and the deal fell through. But I was at this festival, despite losing possibly tens of thousands of dollars. I was still like, all right, cool, that's out of my mind now. Let me focus on this. And we were running around. It was a mess. And it was a really fun mess, though. We ended up, the last night, we sold through and we're like, dang, like we made all right money, not as much as we thought. But we're all kind of dazed and confused. We were sleeping out in the desert in the middle of the day. So it was hot as heck. Like literally we'd work from around 5 p.m. to 6 a.m., 7 a.m. the next day. So all night through, because the festival would end at like 5 a.m. and then we'd have 2 hours cleanup, or like 2 hours to get back to our tents, sleep in the desert, wash up. After washing up, just sit and like sweat in our tent. Like somehow we end up getting a couple hours of sleep through that. Then wake up and do it all day. And like basically like wake up 4 p.m. and just be like, all right, eat a bagel with cream cheese and go. That was our nutrition. Absolutely wild time in my life, but it was like, just do it for the plot. The last day, we were all super sleep deprived, and we were sitting there smoking cigarettes and eating pickles on the side of the road. And then we realized we lost the keys to the truck. And we were just like, what the heck? And we were just so dazed and confused. We were just laughing. This was the worst possible thing. We lost the keys to our truck. We couldn't go home. And we were just like, you know what? Like, let's just enjoy these pickles. You know? Just do it for the plot in that case. And that's what I was talking about in the last lesson, where sometimes you do have to come up for air and enjoy what life has to offer. And if it offers you the hardest thing you're ever going to do, do an Ironman, fall in love, what else is there? Like, just things life have to offer, experience them, do it for the plot, and then stories in like dad lore, basically. And that was like just 1 week where it was like, honestly, most of the year was me sitting at my computer. If you log my time throughout the year, me being active at the gym, sitting at the computer and sleeping, I probably have like the most things sitting at the computer working. But that was just 1 week where it was like special and prized in my heart that I can walk away from this year and be like, I did something this year that I'll say for decades on it. Now, on top of that, a lesson that I learned is like, you just can't recreate a moment. That moment was special then. And the time I tried to recreate a moment was going back to Colombia right after that. I had been to Colombia the year before, like only like 6 months before. And I went with some of my best friends. It was absolutely epic trip. And we were getting work done. We were getting fit. We were at the same time having fun. But like, I don't think we drank any alcohol the whole time. Or I think maybe one person had 2 beers. And I went back to Colombia thinking it was going to be the exact same thing. One of my closer friends were there, and one of my friends was returning, who'd come with me the first time. It just wasn't the same. Of course, like, one guy was like fully living there, the other guy was visiting his girlfriend, and I was kind of just there. I was living with another good friend of mine, and he was having fun, he was enjoying himself, but I just wasn't on the same wavelength that I was before. And I thought that Colombia would just put me right back in that place of like, oh, I'm here, I'm having a good time. It kind of like went back to me going on the farm when I was in Australia. You can look back on those vlogs. But I was living in Sydney, went to a farm, then came back to Sydney, and I thought I would just pick life up right where I had it. Not at all the case. And just know, like, and this is part of the reason I keep a journal, is every day is special and unique, and you can't recreate it, no matter if you set up all the variables that you can think of exactly the same, live in the same apartment, same people, same everything. It just won't be recreated. Like, experience is a roll of the dice. So take it as it is, appreciate it as special, and don't try to recreate, because then you're only living up to an expectation. I think most people know this, is like, whenever you have an expectation for something, there's a good chance it'll fall short. So just don't have an expectation going in. Now, on the tail end of that experience, I had a pretty like holy moment. On the tail end of that experience, I had a pretty holy moment where I was just thinking, wow, like, this isn't the same as it was. And I had to do a lot of introspection. And for those who know me well, know what that means for me. But I had this realization that, like, I think about death a lot, starting off. More than people think you should, but I find it healthy because I don't think of it very morbidly. I think of it so that way I can live the best life possible. And came to this thing where I had this vision of like going down a tunnel and you're just walking towards death. You don't know exactly where the end of the tunnel is, but you're just continually walking, and it's like, it's a very beautiful tunnel. And I just thought, why are we walking down this tunnel? Why are we here doing this? Like, this isn't necessarily enjoyable. It's just like a walk, like down a hallway. Nothing special about it. But there's this beautiful light on the sides illuminating the hallway. And it's like, yeah, sure, you're walking towards death every single day. You don't know when it's going to end, but it's going to be there eventually. But you're walking to enjoy the light, enjoy the sun on your skin. This light was very much like sun. It was illuminated from the sun. And the whole time during this vision, I'm like, what is this light? What is this light? Is it the experiences you have? Is it the work that you do, how helpful you are to the world? What is this light that I'm experiencing? And it's other people. You'll have light down back of the hallway. You'll have light. You see light forward in the hallway. You might be in a little bit of a dim spot now. You might have plenty of light right now. And it's just these other people along your journey walking. And that's what the light is. Yeah, you can see this metaphor as like other people in their tunnels. No, but I think that just my tunnel, forget about other people and their perspectives. Let's say I'm the only one with consciousness on this earth at all right now. Who knows? Who knows? Or maybe you are. Who knows? But the light you experience in a tunnel is those that you come across and you brush up against. And those that make the experience of walking down the tunnel more enjoyable. That tunnel would not be enjoyable if it wasn't for the light. If it was a dark, gloomy tunnel, it'd be pretty scary. But I am very, very fortunate. And I think even if you're not as fortunate as I am to have great people in life, you can find some light somewhere, whether that's getting a coffee from a barista or going and meeting somebody online through a Discord channel. That's the light that you have to appreciate. And you just have to bask in it like it's sunlight, feel it touching your skin. So that's one thing that came to me, is just like through that experience, I'm like, all right, appreciate those around me and realize like this journey isn't forever, but it's the people that make the journey. This goes into the experience of like going down that tunnel, but the next lesson feels like all these lessons build upon each other. Maybe that's part of a journey. This is the next lesson builds upon, where it's like we are all alone. I went through an experience where someone very close to me almost passed away, and they kind of like realized like, oh, I'm alone in this world. They're fortunately still here, but you know, like they kind of like were faced head on with their mortality. And I, on the tail end of that experience, moved to Austin after Columbia, and me and my roommates set a housewarming party. And we just invited everyone we knew in Austin, and others are alone as well. But like, if everyone's alone, aren't you alone together? So we set up that experience. It just felt like that for me, where it was like some of these people I haven't seen in years, but we're going to put everyone together and like hopefully just enjoy each other's presence. And it was a great day. Actually, like one of my favorite days here. And yeah, people like did get tipsy or anything, but nobody like got really drunk. It was like a day barbecue. It was just good brushing up against these people and saying hello if I hadn't met them before, if they're my roommates' friends, or like saying hi to old friends, and just nice to enjoy others' company. Because we all are truly alone, but enjoying someone else's company is about it. Enjoying someone else's company is truly special. On the topic of enjoying people's company and having friends around you, is be very selective with your friends and hold on to the right ones. I, after that barbecue, was very happy to see other people who had come in, who were a part of my life previously and re-entered. But then some people just didn't respond to my message, and that's okay. And I am someone where I've discussed this with a lot of my coaching programs and friends. I'm someone who will, if you don't give me a reason to end the relationship, will always be there. And I make myself honestly too readily available. And I've realized I kind of make that circle tighter and be selective with those. Like, because I have like been let down in the past where people I thought were like, oh, we're brothers for life and we're always going to be there. And then they just don't respond to the text ever. Or they don't call me back after 2 years of trying to get in contact with them. And, you know, like, that's life. So be selective with people and make sure that they're there for you first before you're there for them. Honestly, yeah, that's one thing that I need to learn. Is, yeah, you think I'll always be there for them. But, again, this is like expectations, man. of like, I've had expectations for people that I think that they'll treat me the way I am ready to treat them. Like, I will put myself on the line for a lot of people that won't put themselves on the line for me. And I just have to be more real with myself and like kind of reel that expectation in a bit. Then like next month, I actually found that like a lot of people were taking advantage of me. And I was wasting my time on people who just, at the end of the day, were taking advantage, didn't respect me, didn't respect my time. This was friendships, romantic life. It kind of like, it was a one like romantic relationship where I was just like, wait, you don't really respect me. That ended. And then I was like, wow, this is present in other areas of my life. And I should hold myself more to a higher, I should hold myself to a higher standard in these. And like, if you don't respect me, like, cool, like, get out. And I found that I was actually trying to like compensate for that of like, oh, you don't respect me. Look at all the great things I've done. Look at all the accomplishments I've had. And hoping that would give me more praise and more respect. But I'm like, no, like, someone should respect you for who you are, even if you didn't have this list of accomplishments there. And they should recognize that value for seeing you rather than like having to prove it to someone. And I just now kind of like take a step back from proving myself to other people, even in like my business sense. Like, so many people are like, oh yeah, you should close that client, show them case studies. And I'm like, if they want me to prove myself, then I don't want to work with them, because I think like you should do your due diligence. I've laid out my cards. I've shown case studies. I've shown past work. Like, if you, and the first thing I do is send the link to my portfolio. If you're not looking at that portfolio and I have to then go through it with you, then maybe it's not the right fit. Now, the second to last lesson is know the difference between what society tells you to think and what you actually think. And this for me came in like, honestly, sorry to any family that's hearing this, but the experience of family. As I said before with work, is I tend to work a lot, something that I enjoy to do. And people are like, you're crazy for that, especially moving here to Austin. Difference from New York is like hustle culture. Like, I'd see other people in the office till midnight. Here, nobody else is here at midnight. And sometimes I found myself doing that. And I just had to realize, like, you know what, that's their expectation. Yeah, like, true, there's a standard deviation where it's like most people fit in that. But one thing that really came across is like families. Everyone says, oh, family's the most important thing ever. And yes, to a lot of people that is, and like, I do not take that away from you. But I just found for me, from visiting multiple times throughout the year, it's not as important to me. And I came back from specifically Thanksgiving where nothing bad happened, or like, but I just like came back being like, oh, like, after not seeing family for that long, wasn't that special. Sure, like, I'm going to be in contact because, you know, you can lose those people at any minute. But like, it just came to a hard realization where I'm like, I've been trying to tell myself something that I didn't actually believe for a number of years. And me trying to do that was more of a detriment to myself than like accepting my current thoughts and feelings on it and just being fully aware of those and being like, you know, I'm going to, again, take the best actions for myself and not really fall into the societal norm in that case. Yeah, family is a hard one, and you can DM me if you really want to speak about this at Talon by Design. But I have a chosen family, which are a lot of my friends. I have family that, you know, if they need something from me, I'm there for them. But just for like standard visits and everything, sometimes I won't go out of my way when it is societal norm to go. Like even Christmas, like I saw a lot of people posting online being like, oh, if you're alone for Christmas, please reach out, message me, I'll like FaceTime you, all this. And I saw like multiple people doing this. Some people actually just want to be alone on Christmas. They want to have that relationship with whatever higher power they believe in and spend that day in prayer, or spend that day watching movies that make them feel good, or spending that day with maybe just one or two selected people rather than going back home and seeing all these old friends and old family members that they don't enjoy spending time around more. I think like just taking the day as you personally want to take it, whether that's Christmas, whether that's just any other day like today, taking that day as you want to take it, not following the societal norm of saying, oh, you need to be doing this on this day or at any other point, or you need to value these things because society tells you to. Look at it like, dude, honestly, like we are humans, so we're obviously different, but look at other species. They don't value paternal relationships as much as we do. Look at other cultures where it's like, Yes, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe most cultures have at least like one day where you get together with family, and but some cultures have less, some cultures have more. So take that in mind. And now for the final lesson that I learned from 2025 that I'm taking with me into 2026 is full circle moment. You cannot do it all. So do what you do extremely well. Not only choose to do what's good for yourself, but do it to the best of your ability. Now, saying that, I might go edit this video now. As I didn't say it earlier in the day, but now I'm like, all right, cool. You probably already know by now that it's edited. Or at least take out that annoying fan noise. And, just do things extremely well because you can only do so much in the day. And not putting your best foot forward always, you're just doing, first off, yourself a disservice because you're trying to accomplish goal with every single thing you do, whether you're aware of it or not. And then also, if your work does impact others, which I don't think I can think of a single piece of work or effort that doesn't, then you're doing others a disservice. This video is meant for others at the end of the day. Yes, it is meant for me to look back on years from now, but it is meant for others. And if I'm not sharing my complete, most authentic self with you guys, I'm doing you a disservice. So I put out everything here on the table. And now I'm going to go edit it. I'm going to post it the same day because I told myself I was going to do that. And do this the best I can while getting it out quick and easy for y'all. So with that being said, continue exploring. Hope you have an epic day. If you got anything from this video, again, love it if you subscribe for more content. I'm going to go hard on content in 2026. I am very much looking forward to it because I've been telling myself that I'm going to go do it for years, and we're going to specifically go in Instagram. So follow me on Instagram at Talon by Design, and going to be posting every single day for January and seeing how that goes and possibly continuing a regular content practice into the rest of the year. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy one, guys. Again, subscribe, comment what you've learned this past year, if I can take away from it going into next year. There's probably a lot of people watching this that are way more experienced in life than I am, who might have contradicting views to me. So please let me know or reach out directly on Instagram. With that all being said, continue exploring and I hope you have an epic day.